And that's another thing that I prove, right? It's almost like just you're proving yourself to make yourself a believer in this business. I proved that hey, this model actually works here. And the reason that I started virtual wholesaling was I never believed that hey, I can buy anything here in California. I have this like limiting belief that hey, number one, houses here are very expensive, and investors are never gonna buy houses here. That's why I always invested like out of state. Like that's where the cash flow is. However, you know, like houses there are like dirt cheap. Still to this day, like very dirt cheap. I used to buy houses for like a couple $1,000s, right? And here the thing is like once you started doing it here you realize that there's always buyers out there.
Welcome to the RealPropPro podcast, where strategy, innovation, and wealth converge to redefine real estate investing.
Hello, and welcome to the Real Prop Pro podcast. I'm your host, Ian Dietler, fix and flip investor based out of Sacramento, California. This show brings you real, local investors with real stories and strategies that you can use. Real Prop Pro is where new investors go to learn more about fix and flips, tax deed, tax lien investing, creative financing, and so much more. If you're ready to take action, grab free resources at realproppro.com. Today's guest is Kevin Lee, founder of Insightful REI. Kevin is a Sacramento-based investor turned short-term rental operator who's built his business around creative solutions and long-term vision. We're going to get into his background, talk about real estate investor mindset, and how he got started in real estate investing. He also works on short-term rentals in Las Vegas, Nevada, a move that has really changed his outlook on real estate investing and really changed the way he does business. Kevin, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me here, Ian. It's a pleasure, an honor to be here.
Great. Thank you so much for taking the time to come out here, check us out, share some wisdom to our listeners. It's so important that we have, experts such as yourself, people with a lot of experience in the industry to just explain, how you got started and stuff like that. So to get started, where were you born and raised?
Yeah, so I was born and raised in Taipei, Taiwan. I spent 14 years, first 14 years of my life over there, and an opportunity arose for me to come to the States. So I moved to this country just before I started high school. It was a very, very a big challenge for me because at that time I spoke very little English. So I had to learn English rather quickly. And I did not want to be in an ESL class with other people. I just want to be in a regular class, getting the real like English lessons from like the rest of the people, the ninth graders. So I quickly got out of it. It took maybe half a year to really just petition to the teacher, and the teacher told me, "Hey, you're not gonna survive. You can't swim with the sharks. You're gonna get killed." I proved him wrong. I proved a lot of people wrong time after time. That was like the first time where I had a taste of just proving people wrong, not necessarily in a prideful way per se, but it's more like, hey, um, I can do it, and I believe in myself, and I had to appreciate my mom for believing in me as well, and I think having that person, especially that female, like to support you is so important. We can talk more about that later, but having that support is truly beneficial.
And then, so kind of growing up a little bit, you're kind of adjusting to a whole new culture, a whole new language. I can only imagine how difficult that was. Um, you eventually got into college and started to do um, a lot of college. You went through a lot of college, is that correct?
Yeah. A lot of education. I wasn't really doing it for myself per se. I was there to fulfill a dream of my dad's. He was never able to finish higher education, graduate school. He finished his PhD in economics, and he so wanted to do a PhD. So he basically just placed that dream on me to fulfill it. So I ended up getting a PhD in computer science just to fulfill his desire, so that I can actually spread out my wings and fly out of the cage, if you will. Even like getting a W-2 job afterwards was really just like, hey, I just want you to have a stable job, right? And then work the W-2 for like the next 30, 35 years. And then you can retire, have a family, just live a very normal, typical life like that. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like a lot of parents kind of teach their kids that to go to school, get a good job, retire, and play things safe. Yeah. You've kind of broken that mold. You know, how did you get out of that state, safe and easy, working 9 to 5 mentality into more of an entrepreneurial, more of a business owner, real estate investor type of mindset?
That's a very good question. I feel that at the end of the day, you got to ask yourself this question is what makes you happy? And how long does it take for you to be in a situation where you cannot find fulfillment, you cannot find satisfaction? And the question that I ask myself, right, and I know that it's either Steve Jobs or Bezos. I think it's Jeff Bezos. He said that, would you be regretful of what you have not accomplished before you pass, like, at your deathbed? And that really resonated with me, like when I heard it. I think it was like one of a graduation speech that he gave. So that really just like shook me. And I don't ever want to leave any regret in my life, like before I die, pass. So I say, hey, I gotta do something, because I can either be very comfortable with where I am, just having that very stable job. And I was so guilty there too, because all all I did was really just like 2 hours of my day, really. And then they pay me like probably 16 hours a day worth of salary. And so that's why I feel so guilty, because I can just finish my work in 2 hours and I'm done for the day. Yeah. So I thought I was overpaid and I could stay there for as long as I wanted. I was very productive, a good software engineer. So I was just coasting. I was coasting, and but I was like, hey, I would just want money is not gonna like handcuff me, if you will. Just gonna buy me all the benefits. I just have that bug, that urge to just take that entrepreneurial journey, and I started doing wholesaling, virtual wholesaling. Just never look back. Yeah. Actually, as a matter of fact, I started doing that while I was having my W-2. Yeah, and I had some success, and that actually just gave me the gumption to just say, "Hey, sayonara, boss. This is a proof of concept. Actually worked out really well. I'm okay to just like check out, turn in my pink slip and say goodbye."
What point in your life was that? Like, you'd finished college, it sounds like you were in a software engineering W-2 job. Where along that path did you figure out that virtual wholesale could work?
So it started off when wholesaling was catching fire, wildfire, across the whole country. Sean Terry, I'm sure that you know. I would say he's probably one of the earlier uh, founding fathers of this term, wholesaling, or I flip to freedom. So I devour his stuff. And there's also Joe McCall. He does virtual wholesaling too. He's got system and process, very system and process oriented person. So I would really just glue to his podcast, and that's how I started. Just distilling what he said, and then started creating my own process, system and process for my wholesaling company. Started hiring people like VAs, virtual assistants, and started like prospecting, right? Cold calling, sending out mails. And that's how we started getting leads, right? And then you dispose those leads, right? And then you have some money assignment checks that come in. And that's how like I proved to myself and that there's actually a business there.
Can you take us back to the moment you said you told your boss, like, I'm done here, I'm going to quit. Can you take us back to that moment and kind of describe what that looked and felt like and what you were feeling at that moment?
Yeah, sure. Going into it, I felt very scared, and it's something that I've never ever done before, and I have been programmed that this is my security, and this is a risky move to make. There's a statistics out there, right? Like out of the 100 startups, there's like only 5% that actually succeeded, correct? Or even less than that.
What I've heard is something like 10% will make it past the 3 years, and then of that 10%, only
Yeah,
another 10% will make it. So
right.
yeah, it just kind of depends on time. But
Yeah.
you're right, the odds are very much stacked against you
Yeah.
as far as starting a
Yeah.
business.
So essentially, it's 1% out of the 99% that's gonna make it, right? So yeah, the statistics is against me. However, this is a calculated risk that I took, and I felt it was pretty confident. And it's interesting because I was such a good performer in my company. Is that so annoying? Is that the my boss actually said this to me, Kevin? If you ever change your mind, okay, the door is wide open to you. You can always come back. That was quite surprising to me because when I made the decision to quit and start my own business, um, you know how like people say, hey, if you're serious about this, right, whatever that you do, you got to burn your bridges so you don't look back. There's no fallback or backup plan. So I never thought that I would ever go back. I would try to make it work, right? Even though it's gonna be really tough, I'll try whatever it takes just to make it work. So it was surprising to me, and that was kind of encouraging to me too. But I didn't lean on that. I just kept going, and it's to this day I've been self-employed for like many years. Yeah. What? This is what, 7? No, 8 years. 8 years strong.
Yeah. Wow, that's amazing. You've done a lot in that amount of time. And
Yeah,
we'll go into some of the stuff that I worked on in the past, but
sure.
that's really cool. Can you talk about the first deal? You said you got into wholesaling. Can you talk about how that first deal and kind of how you felt when that first deal went through?
Yeah. So before, you know how like when you start business, you gotta do everything. You gotta grind, you gotta hustle. The first deal I got was actually coming from cold calling. I was doing this cold call. You know how you can just get a list from CoreLogic, list source, and there's like gurus out there that teach you how to pull a list, high equity list, absentee list, and then you just feed it to a skip tracing software to get the numbers, and then you start calling these people and ask them if they want to sell. Yeah. So there's no hesitation there. It's just like a lot of work. Memphis, Tennessee. That's the market that I chose to do my business in. They're 2 hours ahead of us. Like I mean, West Coast time. They're 2 hours ahead. So six o'clock is the time that I started calling, and that's their 8 o'clock, and I want to capture that time before they go to work. So between 8 and 9, or maybe 8 and 9, 9.5, between 8 o'clock and 9:30. That's when I call, and I get a lot of people to pick up because they're not at work yet. They're either on their way to work or they're still at home before they're going to work. I would call during my lunch break as well. That's like almost like toward the end of their day shift, just to get a hold of these owners as well. So that's how I got my first deal. I had boots on the ground, and we share 50, we share the profit half half. Yeah, so she's the one who I would just set her up to lock up the contract, set her up for the appointment, lock out the contract. She would just negotiate, but the terms are already like predetermined over the phone by me. I say, hey, this is how much I can pay you, right? Obviously, there's a lot that's going behind it to come up with an offer, right? Like, after repair value, this is how much we can sell it for, and you got to minus the repair costs, right? And also minus your assignment fee, how much you want to make. And that's the offer that you want to present to the seller and see if that sticks. Otherwise, you guys go back and forth to come up with something that's agreeable to both parties.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So you get the property under contract with the seller or with the owner of the property. Um, how you then have to find the buyer. How did you find that?
I was really lucky. So my boots on the ground, she is a wholesaler over there. However, her marketing is not like cold calling like I do. Like mine is more outbound marketing, whereas her is just inbound. She just sent direct mails. So that was a very good partnership, right? We just combine our expertise, and the fact that she is over there, it makes it a lot easier for me. So she is the one who lock up, and she's the one who find buyer for me. If I were to do this again, I would probably just go ahead and find my own cash buyers that way. You can actually pull a list from this source, right, to figure out who the cash buyers are and then blast it out to these buyers. There's a lot of software out there that allow you to do that, like PropStream, right? There's a specific list you can pull. It's called cash buyers list, right? You can get these cash buyers that way. I'm sure you can do it on list source, property radar, and there's a lot like investor lift, right? Um, there's investor base, yeah, there's tons of software out there now. I think that when I was doing it, Kenneth, Ken, what's his last name? He does the reverse wholesaling. No, it's not Ken Norton. I forgot his name, but he came out with a yeah, it's called reverse wholesaling. Uh, yeah. So what that means is you would go ahead and ask your buyers, what's your criteria? What what's the type of houses that you buy? What zip codes, right? And what's your price range? What's your budget? And what's your exit strategy? Like, are you mainly a flipper or are you a long-term buy and hold investor? And once you figure that out, you would just go and hunt for those deals for these cash buyers because they're ready to pull the trigger. So you're not really just out there, looking for any kind of deals and then blast it out to your cash buyers. You already have these criteria from your cash buyer, the set of cash buyers in each categories. So once you found this property that matches with that criteria, you can just call, hey Ian, I got this deal that I think that is good for you because this is all like match your criteria, your buy box. Would you like to take a look at it? So it makes it easier for a wholesaler to dispose a deal faster. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Um, so kind of along your journey, your real estate investing journey, you kind of get started off by doing some wholesaling, stuff like out of state. What was kind of the next strategy? Because I know that you've tried a lot of different things. So What was the next real estate investment strategy that you went to after this virtual?
I say to myself, hey, if you could do this virtually in a market, why not just do it in your backyard? So I was in Sacramento. I'm in Sacramento. I'm like, why can't you just replicate that here? And there's various reasons. Number one is that. Number two is the assignment fee here is bigger. I didn't have to like split 50-50 with my boots on the ground. Here, I'm the boots on the ground in my backyard. So I can go, I can, talk to whoever, right? And then go on an appointment, lock out the contract, and dispose it myself. So I do the whole like, A through Z, right, transaction, you know, take it to the finish line myself. I did that. And again, that's another thing that I prove, right? It's almost like just you're proving yourself to make yourself a believer in this business. I proved that hey, this model actually works here, and the reason that I started virtual wholesaling was I never believed that hey, I can buy anything here in California. I have this like limiting belief that hey, number one, houses here are very expensive, and people are never gonna buy. Investors are never gonna buy houses here. That's why I always invested like out of state. Like that's where the cash flow is. However, you know, like houses there are like dirt cheap. Still to this day, like very dirt cheap. I used to buy houses for like a couple $1,000s, right? And here the thing is like once you started doing it here you realize that there's always buyers out there, and there's always different types of buyers buying different houses in different markets. So you have like Californians that only buy out of state, but you also have Californians that only fix and flip and buy in California because they know that California has that appreciation that those Midwest states do not have, right? So they rather buy here, and they rather buy in their own backyard. I mean, they can go and see. There's people that are like just very like micromanaging, their properties, their assets, which I get too. You want to drive by and see your houses every now and then. I get it. So yeah, so you can't really say, hey, just because you like this or that doesn't mean that people will like this or that. There's always different kinds of people out there. So you kind of have to like feed that crowd. It's kind of like reverse wholesaling. You got to find your buyers, avatar, right? Their buy box, and then feed them whatever that they like. Yeah.
Sounds to me like you treat your real estate investing very scientifically. Like you're really systems oriented. Like you said, you like to try things out, create proof of concept, replicate, and just
Yeah.
keep going.
Yeah. Uh, I used to be very, very systematic about the process. However, I think that like as I'm doing this for a long time, is that you can't really pigeonhole yourself into just like one strategy, if you will. Like every single deal, especially uh, in this market, very competitive market, is you want to try to figure out a way to monetize every deal that comes across your desk, right? I know a wholesaler here, right? He he will wholesale deals via creative financing terms. Yeah, so because he's able to wholesale that property, because if you like push the seller down too much, you don't get a deal at all. So why don't I, speak to you about, hey, I'm just gonna take over some terms instead of having you come out of pocket to pay for the difference, right, between the loan amount and how much I can offer you. It's like, I can still buy it, I can wholesale it to somebody who is doesn't have to get a loan and just take over. There's that setup of the terms, and then you pay the seller, right? And then you still make a sale out of this, like you still make a assignment fee out of this. So instead of deals that you throw away to the trash can, you can try to monetize, as much out of these deals as possible.
Yeah, I mean, you had brought me to Investor Fuel Live about a year ago, and at that event, Base Morgan was there, so we got to see him speak, which was really cool.
Yeah.
And he was kind of talking about the same subject, like if you only have one tool in your belt, the low cash offer, that's not going to work anymore.
No.
Like days of just beating people up on prices and trying to take whatever equity they have left in that home and not offering any other solutions, you're just not going to, succeed. You're not going to grow, and you're not going to be able to offer these people any different options, right? So, like you said, sometimes people are not in a position to just accept a low cash offer.
Yeah.
Sometimes they have to, like you said, maybe sell the house on terms more creatively, more of a sub two or even a lease option type of sale, until they can, either build up equity or get the house fixed up and have to sell it. So
Yeah.
I think it's really important that you brought up the fact that as real estate investors, we have to have more than one tool.
Yeah.
We have to have more than just that low ball cash offer.
And a transaction is not about just me as the buyer, right? Like beating you down. It's about win-win, like both parties, right? So if one doesn't want it, but the other one wants it, that's not gonna make it happen. So how do we make it happen so that you're happy, right? You're happy with the price, but I'm happy also because I'm paying a little down, right? If you all you care about is the price and I care about the terms, we can marry the two together and make it work for both of us. Or if you just like, hey, I'm just gonna give you a lowball offer, right? You can only make one party happy, in this case, the buyer, but the seller is like, why? Why am I giving away so much equity, right, to this guy? Like I'm not a lot of people that I talked to in the past is like, I'm not giving my house away.
Yeah.
And I had to preface the conversation by saying, no, I'm not asking you to give your house away, right? That's how you differentiate yourself from the other house buyers out there.
So you've done some wholesaling now. We're going to go back to this journey because I really want to highlight all the different kind of phases I kind of went through. So you've done the wholesaling, done the wholesaling in here in your local market. What was the next step on that journey?
I think that at the end of the day is how do you actually create passive income for yourself? And I think that's extremely crucial. I think when you build a business to a point, is you can fire yourself out of the many positions that you took on earlier on, and you can start like putting people in these departments or in these positions so that you can elevate yourself. You can be out of all the seats in the organization so that you can focus your attention really just on growing the company versus being in the business doing all sorts of monotonous things to keep the business running and going. Yeah, so I've always thought that, hey, how do I create a business where it can be self-sufficient, it can sustain itself without me being there the whole time? Because what's the difference between that and the W-2 job? You're not buying your freedom by quitting a job, one job, and then taking on another job, right? Yeah, the only difference is that you don't have a boss to answer to. You're the own boss. But that creates a lot of risk there as well. Because if you don't have anybody that will tell you when things are going off track, you're, I mean, yeah, you're taking your business, yourself down with your business. Yeah, so that's a very risky move. So you're always constantly on the watch, right, for anything that can happen, especially for a startup. It's like a baby, right, trying to survive in this like really cruel world. So I would say that the journey has always been, or the vision has always been, how do I create a self-sustaining business, a business that can give me cash flow at the end of the day. And that's why like a lot of people, including myself, are so harping on this matter of like passive income so much. I'm sure that you do too. Like your dream is to have multifamily, but what's behind that is, hey, I just want to have passive income. You can fix and flip a lot of homes and get that called a crack cocaine, right? 60,000, $80,000 profit, right, per flip, or wholesale, right, 30, 40,000, right, assignment fee. But you should always consider, taking that part of that profit and then save it so that you can use that as a down payment for buying a cash flowing property for you, right? Because that eventually is your retirement. That's equivalent to, I guess, the stock options that you get from working for a company, right? You get stock options. So when you retire, your stock hopefully will appreciate in value, right? And then they'll pay for your retirement. So just like that, you have these houses, rental homes that can pay for your retirement. So you don't have to be there anymore. If the business ever fails again, all right, you have these cash flow that's coming from your passive income, your properties, rental properties.
So you're wholesaling. What was the next step? Because you've done some fix and flipping. I feel like when I met you, you were doing some fix and flips. Was that the next progression after your wholesaling?
It's a, I guess you can call it a milestone or a goalpost in my journey. Maybe it's just, I guess, the next level. Yeah, I know that as a wholesaler, right, you want to graduate to the next level, which is become a fix and flipper. So I thought to myself, hey, instead of like getting assignment fee of $10,000, $15,000, right? If I were to flip this home myself, right, could I get more? There's a big spread, and then even after you take out the commission, holding costs, rehab, there's still a big chunk, pretty good chunk that's left profit, right? Which is like way more than you make as a wholesaler. You wouldn't be it's not reasonable for you to charge that to a flipper because somebody is going to scratch their head and say, hey, if you're making as much as me, why should I buy this deal from you, right? So at the end of the day is how much value can you give to a flipper so that they always come back to you and buy it from you. But if you just are too greedy, uh, you can't dispose a deal. You can't flip a assignment contract.
Yeah, I feel like, us fix and flippers, we're really strict about our numbers, right? Because we don't want to buy a project that has the potential to not make that much
Yeah.
money or even potentially lose money because there's so much risk involved in flipping, right? The wholesaling, you're just kind of in and out on what, little, I'm not going to say no risk, but it has very little risk.
Yeah.
Fix and flipping, you're actually taking down these properties, you're holding them. There's some risk of exposing maybe something that wasn't found out before. And you also have some market risks. So can you talk about the different risks that fix and flippers deal with and come across and how do you manage those risks?
Yeah, so I'll talk about the risks and I'll also talk about the benefits, right? As a contributor in the society, is that so the risk that's involved is, hey, uh, you never know what is behind that wall until you rip out that wall and then you realize that it's so dry rotted, right? You gotta replace all the wood, the post, the framing, right? That's underneath the wall. And a wholesaler is going to sell your property, right? That's beat up, and it's beat up, but you don't know how beat up it is, right? You can't really uh, diagnose the condition of the engine, right, until you start like just demoing it. And then you demo, you realize that there's a hole, right, behind the ceiling, and the roof is shot, right? The roof is toward the end of its life. You got to replace the roof, which you didn't budget before, yeah, or the pool equipment fail, or the central heat and air is toward the end of the age. You can repair it. You have to replace, and we know how much those cost us, right, couple $1,000s, how expensive they are. So there's a lot that go into it, and you want to also make sure that uh, your craftsmanship is the quality is there, so that when you put this property out on the market, you get an offer right away. So you want to maintain that level of quality, and at the same time, somebody, right, some buyer who is buying a flip, and I would do it. I would encourage everyone to do it. Is to call it whole inspection, right, to make sure that all the things in the house, if there's any problems, you find out right away, and that flipper will have to address it before you close, right? So that's kind of like my standard too, is home inspection, right? And then this is like when I sell the house to a buyer and buyer, when I remodel it and then sell it, is hey, we want to address especially big ticket items for the buyer, yeah. So that's not negotiable. So that's one risk, right? So you never know what is behind that wall, the condition of the home, right? You can see with your own eyes one way, but when you open that wall, it's a completely different matter, and you're probably $5,000 over budget. You can be over budget rather quickly. And then there's also things, risks that's outside of your control, like hey, right now we're in the soft market, nothing is really selling right now. So that's kind of like a risk, that unknown risk, right? That's not like in your control. You can shorten the time of like fixing up this home, right? Somebody will take 3 months. You can fix it in 1.5 months, right? You can shorten the time, therefore like possibly shorten the holding time. But then you can change the interest rate. The interest rate is stubbornly high right now. Okay, unless you're like buddy with Jerome Powell, and then you say, hey, can you drop the rate, right? Even Trump is not able to fire that guy. All right. So that's another risk that you have. Uh, I guess holding a property is inherently risky. I don't know if you have ever had experience of people breaking into your homes, especially even in good areas, right? People know that hey, this home is vacant. There's a for sale sign right in front on the backyard. Hey, this home is not occupied right now. We're just gonna like break into one of the windows and squat inside. Yeah, so security system is very crucial, for these homes. So those are the risks. And then there's also, I would say, the satisfactions that you have from fixing up a house that I don't think a wholesaler would ever kind of enjoy. Is you feed a lot of people from this fix and flip, right? You feed your contractor, you feed Home Depot or these hardware supply stores, Lowe's, Home Depot. You feed who to use for selling your home. Yeah, you feed realtors, right? You feed realtors, the buyer. Yeah, so the buyer's realtor and also your realtor, if you're not listing home yourself, your broker and the buyer's broker, right? They benefit indirectly from the transaction. Inspection companies, escrow title, right? They get paid to lender, possibly your hard money lender, they get paid, and the buyer's hard money buyer's lender, right? They get paid for the points and underwriting the loan. So and possibly your workers too, right? Because they gotta put food on their table, and then you pay them through this fix and flip. So there's a lot of people that get paid. That's why like it's when you start you transition from wholesaling to like fix and flipping a home, it's really just beyond you now. It's not just about hey Kevin getting that assignment check, right? But it's also that hey you're feeding a lot of people as a result of this transaction, fix and flip. So there's a lot more gratification that come out of it. Yeah.
And another reward is just making communities better, right? You take the worst house on the block and you make it one of the nicest. So like you're not only making it look and feel safer, better, nicer for that street, the community, but you're also increasing sales prices,
For
right?
sure.
And something that a lot of people don't think about is those sale pricing goes up, there's more sales tax for the
Yeah.
county. And, we all are not very big fans of paying taxes, but those property taxes are going to fund schools and roads and all the other local stuff.
Yeah.
So, by increasing values, yes, it has its downsides, but it also does have its benefits.
Yeah. It's so funny you say this because um, I have friends who know that I fix homes for a living. Is they would just tell me, hey, I have this house that's two houses down from where I live. Can you do something about that house? They would just they would just become my free bird dogs, I guess, if you will, and then just say, hey, because it's an eyesore, right, to all the neighbors on that same street. They say, hey, Kevin, why don't you buy that house, fix it up, make it look nice, so that we don't have this eyesore on the street.
Let's keep going on this journey though, because now you're up to the point where you're fixing flipping houses. I also know that you also do um, care facilities, senior care facilities. Can you talk about how you got into that and kind of where that's at today?
I got into it because of cash flow. I want I want a bigger cash flow, and I did have cash flow from my out of state rentals, but I realized that in order for me to have that number, right, monthly net number, I have to buy a lot of out of state rentals. I mean, imagine, right? Each house is paying you $400 net out of state houses, and if you want to have 20,000 cash flow a month, right? That's gonna be what, 50 houses, and that's like 50 sets of headaches, right? And then if one HVAC blows out, that's 8 grand, and that takes you 16 months to break even. So that $400 you pay, actually 20 months to break even on that house. So every other 49 houses that you have will come into like pay for the blowout of that HVAC. But you can't just say, hey, this particular month, there's only one blowout of that HVAC. It could be like one, two, three, four. You have no idea. So you could be in a negative cash flow situation. That's why I think that if you want to get more cash flow, it's either you go into multifamily because multiple units are under the same roof. Yeah, so it's not like you're gonna replace one roof for every single unit. It's one roof for all the units right under that roof. The same goes with central heat and air as well for these multi-unit apartment buildings. Yeah, so your expenses are way lower than individual single-family homes. And management wise is also easier because you can just have to send one manager out and collect all the checks from all the units in one location. Whereas only so many homes out there, it can be a management intensive task.
Yeah. So that got you kind of thinking, how do I get more dollars per house?
Yeah, and that's when short-term rental kind of took off, like Airbnb, Verbal back then. So I wanted to have more cash flow, and I wanted these homes to kind of be like within a short distance of where I live. So I just started like looking for these homes, right, that we fix and flip, a better location per se, like in Sacramento. And we just started with one, and we're trying out this short-term rental model, and then we found out that wow, that it worked out really well. We're able to get like maybe $1,000, so twice the cash flow that we used to get from an out-of-state rental, and say, hey, if we can get more cash flow uh, in uh, in California, a coastal state, and we can also have appreciation. We get the best part of both worlds. Why don't we just do it here? So that's how I kind of transition from like doing fix and flip to doing short-term rentals. But that fix and flip business is still there because the profit that we make over there, It just give us more, the ammunition to buy more rentals here. Yeah.
That first short-term rental, was that a buy, fix, and hold, or what was the strategy you used to get that first short-term rental?
It's like a bird strategy.
And so the BRRRR strategy that you used on that was buy it, renovate it, refinance, rent it out, and then that rent out step is a short-term rental rent out. It's not a long.
Yeah, so I would joke with people that that's like bird 2.0.
Okay.
Yeah, because it's not traditional long-term rental. It's actually short-term rental. Yeah.
I think I've heard the term burster.
Burster. Okay. Yeah.
So that was getting more cash flow. That was kind of the idea of that, is to have the same property but producing more. Um, and can you talk about that journey out of your short-term rental? Because that's also evolved to where you are today with a lot of the short-term rentals that you're doing now. Can you talk about that and where you're at today?
Yeah. So we bought one and then we bought another one, and that just kind of compounded over time. It snowballs to, I don't know, like I would say to the height of it, we would probably own like 30 short-term rentals until, yeah, until the time where like, hey, people are catching on and they realize how lucrative it is, and then we started getting a lot of competition. I still remember back then, AirDNA actually used our homes as data, right, to market data for people operators who want to enter into this market. Yeah, so all of a sudden there's a lot more short-term rentals, and I think a lot of these landlords, they turn their homes into short-term rentals because they just realize how lucrative it is. Yeah, so we did that, but then there's also contraction. I would say is like, hey, once the competition is coming, came in, it drives down the nightly rate, so it makes it so that it's not, the cash flow is not as good as before, and with a stubborn high interest rate, it's you don't really cash flow anymore. So you kind of have to look at different markets and see what markets that are going to give you that cash flow that this market will no longer be able to give you. That's why I kind of transition out from California, because in the back of my mind is, hey, it's always expensive in California. And property tax, especially property tax, right? Insurance now, and also with the high interest rate, it's just getting harder and harder to cash flow, even with the stir model, burster model, you know. Yeah, so it's like, hey, we'll just do fix and flips right now, and then we'll just buy elsewhere. Yeah, that's why we transition kind of like from out of state back to California, and then back to, you know, back out to out of state again. But right now we're just like do the tri-state, if you will, like Arizona or Nevada, right? That's where we do business, because they're kind of more business friendly, and they also have the appreciation that coastal states like California has. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you for sharing all of that. That's really good stuff. That's really good advice from someone who's really lived it. And it's amazing all the stuff that you've done again. It's only, you said you've only been doing it for about 8 years. That's incredible. Um, Before we wrap up here today, can you talk about the mindset that real estate investors need to have?
All right. Before I share what it takes to become successful entrepreneur, real estate entrepreneur, I want to, usually share with us like what's the mindset to be successful in this business.
I'm so glad you asked. We have some amazing books here. I think it's really important to learn from people that are doing exactly what you want to do, and B, educate yourself. I think it's so important to read books, watch good videos, learn from other people. So we have some books here that I would highly recommend, and I can kind of talk about some of the concepts. So we have the Rich Dad Poor Dad. I always recommend that as a first read. Rich Dad Poor Dad kind of changes the way you think. It kind of gets you to think more of how do I build assets, reduce liabilities? How do I create businesses that will pay me? And then from there, there's another book here that I really like. It's called The E-Myth Revisited. And that one actually touches on the part that you mentioned earlier, which is really important, is that book will teach you how to work on your business instead of in your business, right? So if you create a business and you're doing all of the work and you just created a job, that doesn't get your business to where it needs to be. So E-Myth Revisited right here, this book is really good at training people to figure out how to set up systems to create businesses that people don't have to work in, they just work on and keep developing. Yeah. So that's one. Let's see. This is one of my favorite real estate focused books. It's called The Millionaire Real Estate Investor by Keller. I call it the Real Estate Investor Bible. It has everything on there. It has really cool case studies too. So as you're reading it, there's several different stories of people that are using some of the strategies. And it's really cool to read about how real people have done real things to create wealth in real estate. This is a newer book that I just picked up. It's called the New Automation Mindset. And I'm really into this book right now because what that one does is not only set up systems, but how to automate your systems, how to take advantage of what we have with AI, and how to create systems that just automatically do stuff, right? Because we're kind of getting into an era where the same repetitive work is kind of going away because we can program AI and software to do a lot of that stuff for us. So I'm really into this book right now. I really like that read. Highly recommend that to anyone that's looking to create systems in their businesses, improve systems, improve automations, and AI. So those are some of the main things that I like to focus on. So I turn it back to you. What's some of the mindset stuff that you think is important for real estate investors?
I'll say one thing is for me is these summits, these masterminds, these classes, these conferences, workshops, whatever you want to call them, I find them like really useful. You know, you go to classes in school, right? I take those as like classes in school. You have to kind of stay uh, at the cutting edge of your game. And like the last one that we went to, Deal Champs, I got so much out of it, and I formed so much uh, friendship or partnership with people that I network with. There's a lot of vendors out there, and there's also what's that guy's name? He's the we call him the Elon Musk of real estate. Yeah, Robert Winston. Yeah. So he gave out a lot of nuggets, and I thought that was like pretty enlightening. And you wouldn't really be able to get those without attending those summits. So highly encourage you guys to go to like your local meetups so that you can network with these people and then really learn from them. And you will be I think you're truly lucky if you're in the same um, neighborhood or same city as Pace Morby, right? You got somebody that is truly a go-giver, right? And he's there, like in your backyard. So go to his event, right? Learn, pick this guy's brain, and you'll learn so much. He's got so many stories, case studies that he can give, and all the forms, right? You can just call this guy and then use. So definitely, this is not reinventing the wheel. This is not like rocket science. There's so many people that have done anything under the sun in real estate, and they'll be able to help you. And the way to get those resources is just by attending these workshops, summits, and there's actually one coming tomorrow, right? That you're going to, Ian?
Yeah. Our local RIA is putting on a 2-day creative financing training workshop. So I'll be attending that. It's actually Mitch Craighead, who was just on the show, episode 8. He's the leader of the NorCal RIA, and he's putting on the event. So I'm really excited for that. Sounds like a wonderful guest. Super excited to see what type of stuff he's teaching and showing people. And just to kind of piggyback off of what you said about conferences, the other thing that I think is really cool is like sometimes you can even hang out with the people afterwards. Like for instance, at Deal Champ, I mean, they had a VIP after party where you're just sitting there hanging out, eating, having drinks, chatting with all of the main players there. And then the second day they had another VIP party afterwards at Jason Christian's house, which was really cool. Got to talk to a lot of people there. So, yeah, I mean, go there to learn, go there to network, go there to network with the speakers, go there to network with the attendees. Like, who knows? I mean, I'm pretty sure that's how you and I met, was at your meetup that you put on.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I highly recommend going to local and national conferences. So, good point there.
So one thing that I do want to say is I want to uh, tell everybody that Ian, he's a super knowledgeable guy, and the reason that he's super knowledgeable and knows so much in real estate is he is always there. Like any kind of meetup or networking event that I go to, I always see him there. He tries to make his presence known. Yeah, so he's like a sponge, like ready to absorb. So you can ask him anything under the sun in real estate, he knows. Right? It's not just like tax liens, and he knows a lot of things. So definitely. And how does he know? He spent his time. He takes his time to go to these events. Taking off like what 2 days to go to this workshop. Not many people can do that. So there's a lot of I would say persistence, right? You need to be very hardworking in that regard, to be so knowledgeable like Ian.
Well, thank you. I appreciate those kind words. And, the other reason why I like to always show up is just because I feel it's so important to network and meet people in this business, right? Yeah. Like, there's,
Ian's a people person.
yeah, I like to network and get to know. There's so many things that, I need. I always need, capital. I always need deals. I always need this. And so if I meet people that have that, then they kind of fill in that blank space. So,
He's got a great mom too, who helps him out in his business. Hey, tell us how you celebrated your Mother's Day for your mom.
oh, okay. So yeah, other Mother's Day just passed. Um, we actually spent time with my mother-in-law too. So, we took her to the river and just hung out. She doesn't get out as much, kind of health conditions and such. So it was really important for her to get out in nature because she just loves getting out in nature. Um, got her cakes and stuff and just had a good time with her. Then after that, we spent time. We actually went to Ming Palace, which is a good Chinese restaurant, and I got her cake. My sister got her plant that she's really been wanting. So, just again, just showing up, right? It's just with your business, with your family, with your friends. You got to be there for people. You have to be accessible, make time for people. And so, yeah, so both my sister and me and my wife, we all spent time with my mom, had a great Mother's Day, and she sent me a message after, like, thanking me for it. So, awesome. Yeah, love, yeah. Well, every week we do a free book giveaway. Some of the books we have here, giveaways, Rich Dad Poor Dad, Cash Flow Quadrant, 10X Rule, E-Myth, Go Giver. Any of these, to enter, all you need to do is comment and like this episode and comment which book you like. And 7 days after the air date, we'll pick a winner. And then if you're a winner, we'll send it straight to your house. Okay, so Kevin's story shows what happens when you combine consistency with strategy. You don't have to build something right away. You just need to build something that works and you develop it out. Real estate doesn't have to be about chasing big exits or big deals. Sometimes it's about designing a life that works, whether you're in Sacramento or other markets or traveling the world. So whatever stage you're in, just start and keep going. Never forget why you started in the first place. Thank you all for joining us, and we'll see you on the next episode. Thanks, Kevin.
Thank you.